Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Davis. I am with the Rags to Riches community. In fact, I am the founder, the CEO, and the Supreme Ayatollah. I have here a very special guest. You guys might know him from former movies such as Free Willy and Jaws. WhalesOnly one.
That was good. Free Willies and Jaws,
Really?
Stupid.
I mean, Wales. Sorry, dog. How's life, man? What's going on?
Oh, I can't complain. There's some crazy shit going on outside. So I'm actually just watching through the window right now,
Oh,
trying to see who's killing who, but I can't really get a good eye.
out in the
So I'm
city,
just
huh?
listening in. How you
Dude,
doing, bro?
man, I'm good, man. You know what, dude? Let me tell you, man, you're responsible. You're responsible for some of my ascension in this community. Now, of course,
Is that
I tell
right?
everybody that I'm on the backs of giants here, but
Well, we
I
all
always
are, aren't
wanted
we?
to talk to you, man. You were one of the first people that I was hearing all this data from about Hex back in the day, man. So
Is that right?
I got
That's
to
what's
give
up,
credit
man.
where I got to give credit where credit's due, man, and it's
I had,
due.
I had no idea, man. I had no idea. I know you told me one time with a super chat, but I don't really know. I just be streaming. Just like you stream, I'm just streaming. I'm not paying attention. I'm just rambling.
I know.
Because, like, when I'm streaming, it's like a freestyle for me. I'm just yapping. Because
Yeah,
it's
it's the same way,
just,
man. It's the
yeah.
same way, but it is what it is, and here we are today, man. I've had quite a few people that said you need to talk to Wales. You need to talk to Wales. So I hear a lot of your stuff. I see a lot of your stuff on Twitter, man, and I think that our views on the world line up pretty damn well.
That's what's
So
up.
I wanted to have a conversation with you for our community, and I kind of want to dive into all this stuff, man. And I want to figure out what it means at large and your thoughts. So I wanted to start out with this. We're just going to hop right into this.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on Russia and Ukraine right now and how that relates to the world at large?
Distraction. Major distraction. And the reason being is because if you look back at the history of the Obama presidency and what the Secretary of State, which was Hillary Clinton at the time, and what she was doing and what she was up to, you would know full and well that they've been embedded in that territory since then, if not before then, right? Because this is just how things work. And it's not like the evidence is hidden, it's out there. So if you're looking, you'll find it. There's actually no such thing as a conspiracy theory. That's the funny thing. They tack the word theory on there to make everybody else believe it's a theory. But if you understand what the word conspiracy means, if you actually use your brain and your eyes, excuse me, and look up the definition of the word, you will come to find out that attaching the word theory to it is contradictory.
And that's on purpose. That's
Yeah.
designed. They use the
hmm
word theory on purpose, right?
hmm
And
Correct.
and that's the distraction part, correct?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I mean, when you sit here and you think about how many things has the media just thrown out there as it being 100% fact per their fact checkers and whoever else they want to reference, their undisclosable sources or their anonymous sources or whatever sources they want to reference. And then guess what? 30 days later, 3 days later, 3 minutes later, turns out they were lying. Happens damn near every day. And nobody bats an eye at that. Why? How come? It's almost insane, in my opinion.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do
Well,
you think that do people just are they so in their day-to-day hypnosis they don't have enough
that's
energy or what's it look like?
that's what I think, man. Like when I ask myself that question, the why, I really try to think: is it that I just didn't care, or is it that I just didn't have the time to care, or I just didn't think I had the time to care?
Mhm.
Because I think the last one is what gets most people. Because once you start realizing what actually determines the ocean flow, how the water flows in your vicinity, right? Like what affects your life for real, right? Like your actual day to day. Not what are your day to day activities, what affects your day to day. If you got kids, how is their daily schooling? If you got a community organization that handles something, how are they being affected? Like there's so many different levels and so many different angles to look at things, right? I think I saw you post something earlier today where you were in the military.
Yeah.
There you go. So you know full and well what happens when you're part of a community where there's always something to do, right? And I think that humans are just like that. We just like doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. So if you can find ways to keep people engaged properly is a key word here, not just engaged doing busy work, because that doesn't benefit anybody. Well, then that can lead to major successes. I mean, I think the health community is a pure embodiment of that. Everybody finds their own success here. Nobody, you didn't never piggybacked on me to do anything. You just
Mm-hmm.
started streaming and here we are. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how it should work. There's no handouts here. Nobody say, hey, Rags, you're the man now. You got 1,000 subs. Congratulations. Nah, you put in the fucking time.
Yeah. Got to put the work in for sure.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think I think for the first time, and I've been on this earth that long. There's people in chat that have been on this earth longer than my dumbass, but I'll tell you, I think for the first time since I've been alive, the decisions that the government have made, I'm seeing them affect the people around me. They're feeling
Mm-hmm.
the decisions now.
That's right.
And I think that that's probably, this is where people start waking up. And this is where people say, oh, wait, all those things we've heard all these years about all these crazy people about it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, wait, maybe they're right now. Maybe it's here. Maybe the cost of goods is doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Maybe the attack on police at large, maybe that's an issue now. Maybe society is falling apart because we want to glorify delusion, and I think that we see a lot of glorification of delusion these days in our society.
100%.
So I think that's what's causing people to snap out of their day to day at this point. What do you think?
Well, I gotta be honest with you, man. I figured out that this is what it was gonna take a while ago. Um, Approximately before the end of 2020, like after everything happened with the election, and I just saw how they just blatantly stole it. Like they blatantly stole it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it with my own fucking eyes on fucking YouTube of all places. The
Mm-hmm.
shit's on record. So it's not like they were hiding anything. Nothing has been hidden. And this is the funny thing. Nothing is hidden. People see what they want to see, bro. And this is why I'm not afraid to say the truth. I don't give a fuck if you don't know. That's your own
Mm-hmm.
fucking fault.
Right.
Because I'm some dumbass from the Bronx. So if I know, it's literally your own fault you don't know. Because I am the most disadvantaged person out here in this country by
Mm-hmm.
default, by design.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. All you gotta do is come to where I live. And if you can't fucking see that, then you're retarded. Because I've
Sure.
been elsewhere. And how other people live is nothing like this. So I know for a fact what I'm saying is true, not my opinion. And this is why I cut no slack. What are we gonna achieve in this life if everything is based on giving motherfuckers pats on the back?
And no
I don't,
accountability.
no accountability
I
on
think
top of that.
that's got to be one of the worst things that's happened with this ideology that's permeated over the years. It's like
100%.
they don't,
100%.
even if you're struggling, you still got to hold people accountable because you put your feet to the fire, and that's how you're going to get out of things.
You're as
And
strong as
they
your
don't do
weakest
that.
link, right? You're as strong as your weakest link. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I think of exactly when you said that. Now, being in the military, now I don't want to hone on this shit too much because I don't honestly feel like it did much to change me per se. I think what it did was it gave me the ability to understand that I am capable of more than I originally thought,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's what boot camp gives to most of us young folk that go through it. And I think that that's the most important aspect of it, whether it's Air Force or Marine Corps, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
from the softest to the most extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going through something and you just realize that you thought before you did it, you wasn't going to do it, and then you did it, that changes your whole perspective about your life and what it
Mm-hmm.
could be. So I think for me personally, that was the biggest thing that I got out of the military. For me, boot camp, I would do that. I wish I could have did that the whole time instead of going to war and all that shit. I could have done without that. As crazy as it sounds, because boot camp was ridiculous. I was in Fort Knox. I was in the shithole. I wasn't with like chicks and all of that.
Right. Right.
So it wasn't like it was a party time for me. But you know, the drilling that you go through, the incessant ass kicking that you receive, is something that I guess I'm a masochist. I enjoyed it. And you know, the reality is that going through that type of shit is what helps you realize who you are as a person. You know, I never in my life thought I was gonna find myself in combat, bro. But then I was just
Yeah.
there a year later. You know, it just happened.
Yeah.
It's the
Well,
type of shit.
dude, it's so true. Most people go through life and they never figure out who they are.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
because they never been tested, and you gotta get tested. You gotta get tested hard so you can find that point. And sometimes people think that point is close, but sometimes your breaking point's pretty far away.
Look at Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
That's the perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
That man hustled his whole life until what, 50 something, and then he hit a lick.
He hit it.
Done. Yeah, and he hit it like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right? To the point that it's still roaming today. And it's true to what you just said. You know, you gotta keep hitting. It reminds me of that little meme where you got one guy digging, about to reach a diamond, and then you got the other guy that just turned around with the pickaxe in his hand, and he was just as close.
Right.
You know, and I think that when we see what's happening today, and the crazy thing is like, it's like people get into this lull where they think that they don't have this ability to say, no, I will not comply.
Mm-hmm.
But no. You actually control this shit. Like, that's just some random person.
Yeah, I like that idea. One of the problems too, I think we're so many generations removed from the horrors and tragedies of tyranny that
Right.
people don't have any perspective. They don't know that they can say no, and they don't have any examples to lead.
That's a fact, because everybody doesn't read history. You know,
No.
everybody isn't a student of life or whatever have you. You know, everybody isn't interested in the past or what happened in it or what got us here. And that's just a fact, because there's so many different distractions nowadays. Right?
It is, man. It is, and they aren't students of history, and they don't understand that every single thing that we're looking at playing out in front of our own eyes right now in this world, it's happened time and time and time and time again in history. It's the same story, just has a different cover.
How else can we see this coming from a mile away? There's no other way. We're not that smart. I'm sorry.
No.
Like, we might be here talking, but come on.
Correct.
Come on.
There's no new information in the world, folks. Very little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, everything that we talk about is given to us at every facet of discussion, every topic. What original thought really exists? There's so little original thought, right? I mean, T-shares is the most recent concept I can think of. Literally, as crazy, and it just happens to be because I'm involved in Hex. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know that. Yeah. So what other thing can I think of? Because, I mean, I got to tell you, Apple might have seemed innovative in 2007, but that was 2007.
Yeah.
You know, over time, what happened? Well, they became stale. They stopped innovating, and all they did was just make cute hardware. That's it. Anybody can do that.
Yeah, because the type of innovation that we're talking about in the past, that probably only pops up once every, 100 to 400 years.
Oh, you mean that type of innovation? Yeah, forget about it.
Well, let's think about Apple, for example. Let's think about our boy, God rest his soul, whatever the case may
Jobs.
be.
Right.
Like he goes off and he does peyote
PC?
and plans and
Wasn't
stuff.
The first PC Apple though? I think the first PC was Apple.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Apple. I can't remember the name of the machine, but I'm pretty sure it was Apple. Mac 2, I think it might have been called.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's innovation, bro. There were no personal computers up until
No,
that
he
point.
was like, let's take a screen and let's make this little thing called a mouse and let's like have a like that
Yeah,
didn't exist.
it didn't
This
exist,
was
right?
like at the
Xerox
advent of
kind of stole
everything.
it from them, or
Yeah.
vice versa. I can't remember exactly the story, but the rest is history, right?
A lot of what I heard about him, it was like it might not it was maybe it's not even innovation. He came up with an idea and he said, "This is my idea." And he hired people and said, "Go make my idea." And they
Right.
bring him the prototypes and he'd be like, "Nope, get out of here.
Nah.
Nope,
Yeah.
get out of here." Until that process that he was using, it kind of just was an animal in and of itself and it turned into something amazing because
Hmm.
he didn't take no for an answer.
Right.
He
That's a fact.
had that thought in his head. So,
Yeah. I think that he didn't take no for an answer bit. I think that um, that is probably the one of the biggest aspects of his character that I've taken for myself, because that's what's allowed me to, just not stop, right, and never stop educating myself and finding information and discovering what we need to know. I
yeah.
mean, look at how we live, bro. Like, I just refuse to believe, as an individual that was taught all this shit growing up, I go join the military because I got no ambition, so I want to go find some. You know what I mean? And this is the whole thought process as a 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old, right? Trying to do the right thing because I had already fucked up in a major way. So you're trying to
Mhm.
fix it, right? You're trying to
Right.
fix it. You're trying to clean it up. And all you go do is find yourself some more shit. Like, that's it, And then turns out you're not even halfway to being a grown man, and you're fucking fighting somebody else's war.
Yep.
Period.
I can't relate to the combat aspect.
Mm.
I did spend one thing that I did spend. I spent a whole lot of time in some of the war torn countries in West Africa.
You're
In
one of those
countries,
guys.
Liberia. I went to
Yeah, yeah.
Monrovia. I went to Cote d'Ivoire, which is Ivory
Just as
Coast.
sucky from what I've heard. So
Dude, it sucks. It's bad.
yeah,
You
it
know, you
sucks.
have to have 25 rounds at all times to even to go in country anywhere.
Mm.
But the thing about that really shed light on how screwed up our situation is in the States is I set foot on this place that is completely war torn. There's not a building, there's not a concrete building within 10 or 15 miles of that place that isn't torn to shreds. And there's still people living in it. But first and foremost, I meet these people within the first 10 to 15 minutes of me talking to these locals. They're like, "Hey, you want to go have some dinner?" I'm like, "What do
Right.
you mean you want to have some dinner?" And they take me out back to this little spot and they got their whole family. There's like 10 or 15 people. Everybody's eating with their hands. They got a bowl, probably about the size of, I don't know, like a 4-foot bowl with nothing but rice and chicken. And they invited me, a complete stranger, and they expected nothing from me. It's not like they were asking me for money or trying to butter me up. It was just
Right.
that's what they did. You tell me a place in the United States, barring maybe a couple places in the South, that within 10 or 15 minutes, you're eating dinner with the whole family,
Yeah, you're
sitting
not.
around a giant bowl, eating with your hands. That don't happen.
No, you're not.
How come that doesn't
Period.
happen? It's because we don't trust each other.
Uh-uh.
We don't love each other. We're so jaded. We're so in our own little world.
Yep.
And I think the powers that be want that. They don't want us communicating.
100%.
They don't
100%.
want that because we're easier to manipulate when we're not with each
Trustworthy.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trustworthy. I mean, I think I think that that's what kind of paralleled me or propelled me uh after we had that Hex meetup in Vegas last year. Um you don't like, I almost didn't even go. And I've told this story before, but for whoever's heard it before, you're gonna hear it again. I didn't even want to go. But last minute I said fuck it and pulled the trigger and went. And it was meeting all these people that just wanted to shake your hand and say thanks. That's it. I've never had nobody just want to shake my head and say thanks for just me
Bro,
being myself. You know what I'm
I heard
saying?
you. I heard you were 6'8". You shot fireballs out of your ass, and you had lasers coming out of your eyes. That's what I heard. Like
Something like
Black
that.
William Wallace or something, dude. That's what I heard.
The cavalry is coming. Y'all love that movie, bro. Oh my god.
So,
that that
so
that was a
I
hell
think
of
I
a
could. I think I could relate to what you're saying. It's like I don't like necessarily being around people that much,
nah.
dude.
Yeah, I don't at
That's
all.
how I grew up.
Yeah, exactly. I
But
mean, I'm from New
you
York, bro.
pushed through it and you went out there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that alone changed my perspective on people, right? And what a community could achieve because before that point in time, I had never seen anything like that. I had never been a part of anything like that. I had never even thought anything like that was possible because I had never seen it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I
So
know.
even though I knew anything is possible, it's just seeing it was crazy. You know, you don't believe that it is. But here we are. And those are the kind of things that, they light a fire in people because it shows them that things are possible even though they thought that they were not. You
Right.
know, like how do you compare an existence, right, that was disparaging 2 minutes ago to one that is now full of hope?
You
You
can't.
can't. Yeah, you can't. I mean, it changes your perspective on everything, and that's what happened to me. I mean, it's just like you said. I'm not a people person, still am not. But when it comes to doing Mexican stuff, yo, I'm always down. Thumbs up and all that good shit because it's positivity 99% of the time. So I would not want to partake in that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it makes sense. And there's some overarching concepts here that I want to point out about that. A lot of people who get into crypto, they find hex and they think it's about making money.
Mm,
But they don't know.
yeah.
They're
Yep.
just starting their journey. And we realize after a while, hanging out with the right people, talking to the right folks, what we have here is pretty much a buffer from all the ideological BS that you hear in the outside world. We've
100%.
got people from all walks of life around here. We got people with all this BS gender stuff. And the only thing I bring it up is the only reason I bring that up is because they highlight that on the outside world. We've got just so many. It's just a huge dichotomy, but we
Hmm.
all get along.
Yep.
And that goes against everything that is taught outside of what we have here. So then the question becomes, why do we get along so well? It's because all of that other stuff it's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
trash. Garbage,
100%.
trash, and illusion. We get along, and that's what makes us awesome. And this can be a blueprint to be able to copy and paste in cities, in organizations, memberships, political arenas all over the world because
Everything, brother.
people experience the non
Everything.
ideology here
Hmm.
and they can look somebody in the eye and say, no, that's not how it is. And you know how I know? I've got the confidence of experience now because I'm part of a community that does not operate that way and never will.
Yep. Period.
So it
It's
pumps
a
me
beautiful
up,
thing.
man.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean,
Pumps me up.
I think this is what most of us dream of. Like, this is what I expected when I joined the military.
Yep.
And it was not that at all. By any means. It was a joke, in fact. But it's neither here nor there. It was good enough for me to get what I needed from it. And that's all I care about. So at the end of the day, when you are able to find something like this, you can't let it go. You got to
No,
find a way to make it work, you
you
know?
got to.
And
And go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
No.
please.
I was just going to say, like, you know, I think we all have a mission, right? Once we find this thing and we realize how great it is, I think it compels people to want to do something. And I think that is like that itch that you get that's hard to scratch because it's so difficult to find that thing. And I'm pretty lucky because I crisscross a lot of things that cover what's needed in this game, in this crypto specific game. because I know finance, I know trading, I know all this shit, right? And that makes me a powerful tool. I know a lot of laws, a lot of legal shit that a lot of people just don't even think about, but they should, because it affects their everyday, even though they don't realize it. I mean, imagine the average person doesn't spend thousands of dollars every day, but there's gonna come that one point in time where they're gonna want to buy that $2,000 something, and they're gonna want to swipe their card, and their bank is gonna say no, thank you, and they're gonna be like, "What the fuck? I got the money in the bank," and they're not gonna have a clue what, who, what, where, when, or why, and it's simply because they had no fucking idea their Fourth Amendment rights are being pissed on every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Standard.
Mm-hmm. It's already happening.
Oh, it's been happening since 1999.
Yeah, and it's just continuing to trickle further and further and further
Yep.
down the socioeconomic rung ladders.
Yep. Well, I grew up in an environment where your phone line was tapped all the fucking time. I know exactly what a fucking tapped phone sounds like when it was a landline. Like, I know, the average motherfucking American thought that shit was a fucking, a myth. But now these motherfuckers literally walk around with a tap in their pocket and think they're cool. I mean, that's the funny thing.
Right.
They think they're cool. Like, oh, I got the latest iPhone. You a dumb motherfucker. You got the latest tap. You stupid fuck.
Every household in the U.S. is tapped. Every household.
Every household.
Person. Yeah.
In every way possible.
Mm-hmm.
If you got an Xbox, PlayStation, phone, smart TV, smart computer screen, smart whatever, there's a reason they call it smart. It's because your ass is
how
dumb.
can you say that, dude? You're just being a conspiracy theorist, dude. How can you possibly... How can you say that?
Yo, I mean, you know what's funny? I gotta tell you a little personal story, bro.
Right.
When 2020 started, I was still bitter old me. Everybody hated me, oh, this motherfucker always talking crazy shit. Da, 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 da. Come the end of 2020, I'm the fucking God, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the fucking God, because now people are seeing. At the end of 2020, people start seeing what the fuck I've been talking about for the past 2 decades plus.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? When motherfuckers are taking food out your mouth and your family's mouths, that changes the dynamic a little bit, doesn't it? It makes you look at things a little differently.
It does, man. I'll tell you straight up, man. When I was a kid, I spent a whole lot of time with my grandfather, and I'll never forget. He'd pick me up from school. He'd have a little like bag lunch for me or whatever. And then we'd go to the train tracks and just park, watch the trains, or go to a construction site, watch the cranes doing this or that. But what was happening the whole time was he had the radio on. And there was a guy by the name of Rush Limbaugh.
Ah, good old Rush.
And this guy, for years and years and years before things really hit the fan, he predicted everything that is happening right now.
Right.
To a level of accuracy that nobody would ever dare to admit. But I listened to him for 10 and 15, and it didn't make sense at the time. I didn't know what I was listening to. I didn't care. Yeah. But now I'm on this earth for a couple, 2, 3 decades, 3, 4 decades. And now I'm like, okay, I have perspective. I can measure what happened in the past and compare it to the result of now. And that's why I am the way I am. Because now I see the lies. I see the lies and the deceit and the treachery and the games of power that are played above everybody's head. And I'm tired of it. And you cannot tell me at this point in my life, you can't tell me that I'm wrong because I've seen it.
Imagine that.
Compare and contrast.
I mean, look, I think after the past 2 years, everybody got to just shut the fuck up and let grown men and women speak. End of discussion. That's where I'm at in this world, bro. Because clearly, nobody gave enough of a fuck to stand up until the other fucking day. So clearly, there are no adults in this motherfucker. Get out of my face. Because I've been saying all these damn things that are happening now since day zero. Because if you don't know that these motherfuckers are lying to you after 9/11, after Afghanistan, after Iraq, after Libya, after Syria, after whatever, after all the shootings, after all the false flags, after everything, then you're a fucking moron.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. Like, I don't know how much more evidence you fucking need. Like, you don't even need to study the shit from the 60s and World War II and Operation Paperclip and Mockingbird. And you don't even need to do all of that. That's the fucking funny thing, bro. Like, you don't got to do a fucking thing, but look back 20 years. So whoever chooses to not see who the enemy is the fucking enemy at this point in time, in my mind. No question.
Dude, I've got to point this out too. I'm a very compassionate human being. And I've got a lot of compassion for some people who have fallen ill and fallen under the weather to these ideas that I always say are very, very, very communicable. And they're very, very bad ideas for people individually. The thing that frustrates me is when you do look back in history, all of these people who refuse to see the truth, it's like a pathology. It's
Yeah.
almost like they're not even refusing to see it, and they just are. Their brains have been hijacked, and they can't see the truth.
It is like it's like they're on autopilot.
They are, and it's like in the book, everybody says the book 1984, when he says, look at that apple right there. What color is that apple? Well, he says, well, the apple's red. No, it's blue. And then he tortures them. And then he comes back and says, what color is that apple? And the guy's like, well, it's a red apple. And the guy's like, no, it's blue. And he tortures him. He brings him back. He says, what color is that apple? The guy says, it's blue. He says, you don't believe it's blue. And he tortures him.
Jeez.
Keeps doing that until they are convinced that he believes that
I've
apple
actually
is blue.
read that book, bro. I gotta read that.
Dude, they reject reality. They are unable to see reality.
Wow.
That's the point that they get to, and there is a very strong evidence for a psychological hijacking of people's minds when it comes to things like this, to ideology.
100%.
And the sad part is when you do look back at, you look back at all these tyrannical, totalitarian states throughout history, the people that are on the side of the government, they're the first people that show up with their hands out when the government takes the power completely away from the people, and they say, look what I did for you, where's my handout? And what does the government do at that point? They take them out.
Go fuck yourself.
They took those people out first.
Yep.
Well, why did they take those people out first? It's because those people are going to be the most hurt when they realize that they were taken advantage of for so long.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the most dangerous. So the government, gone.
And I'm going to be the most laughing motherfucker in the background. Because, I mean, come on. It's like, how many times do we have to see this happen? I don't even know. I can't feel sympathy for those people, bro. Like, I just can't. Like, I'm a person that's very compassionate, very helpful. I respect others. I'm empathetic. I understand when you're going through some shit. You know what I mean? I respect people. I do what I do. I mean, you've heard me stream. I don't got to tell you. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here giving it away. I don't want nothing from nobody. But, yo, for you to just choose to not see that you're being fucked, I've been in that position before where I choose to not see.
Yeah, me
that
too.
I'm getting,
You're right. I had to.
We make those decisions, whether it's you're in a bad relationship or you're just saying, oh, I'm just going to sign this dotted line because I need this. I don't care, whatever. And we got to just come to terms with when we do those kind of decisions, when we make those kind of decisions, we're not helping ourselves. We're setting ourselves back in a major way.
Yeah.
Just for that short-term gratification.
I'll tell you this, and one of the things that made me decide to stop just sitting back on my laurels and be very, very vocal in public about my opinions was actually my service in the military. And here's why. I did my best to be as squared away as possible. I was working out when I'm supposed to. I'm studying when I'm supposed to. My uniform squared away. I got the creases. My bed's made. Everything is just like I got good marks on everything because I cared about it. The thing that pissed me off the most was to watch the political correctness in such a short amount of time permeate into the military ranks.
Yeah, but I'm glad I was on my way out of that shit.
but that's why I got out. I was shit hot, but I
What
had to get
years
out.
were you in, if you don't mind me asking?
2004 to 2009,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. Okay. You were in a little less. Okay. I was in from 2 to 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So not bad. Not bad.
So I saw that in just such a
Hmm.
short amount of time, man. It was
It
like
was crazy, right?
meritocracy was no more. I
The
thought the
military
military is all
changed,
about
yo.
meritocracy.
Yeah, nah, that shit changed in a split second.
They
Split
they
second.
dude, they look at a room full of us and they say, "Hey, who wants to go on deployment?" Nobody raised their hand. Boom, hand up. I'm out. I get back from deployment about maybe a month later. They're like, "Hey, who wants to go on deployment?" Boom, hand goes up. And then they call me in the office and they have me speak to a shrink. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, so yeah. I'm not trying to sit in
Yo,
a
that's
building
fucking
for
hilarious. They sent us out there for at least 12 months.
yeah.
And we don't get to see no shrink on the comeback.
I said, "Yeah, send me. I'm out of here." All right. So I did everything I could to like
Oh,
stand out from the crowd. I got a chest full of ribbons. I got all this stuff going. I'm like, and I come back and I'm treated like garbage, man, for no good
yep,
reason.
yep. I know those. That's why I only look. I gotta be honest with you, bro. I personally don't give a flying fuck that I ever served in the military. You know why? Because it did nothing for me but teach me full and well that I'm in this world by my damn self.
Hmm. I I would not feel that way. I am the reason why I went. I'll tell you why I even went in.
And
And
that's the
for
funny thing.
me,
Everybody has different experiences, and I say this
yeah,
all the
and you
time.
do, yeah.
Hmm.
For me, I saw the contractor Nick Berg get his head cut off by the Taliban.
You saw that
That's what
shit.
got me in. I signed up like the next week.
Mm.
I wanted to make a difference.
Gotcha.
That propaganda worked on me real good.
Yeah, they got you. Yeah, because that shit was fake.
But I had always had the idea that I wanted to serve my country.
For sure. I
And
mean,
just like
I didn't
you,
join because it was cool, bro. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? You think you're doing the right thing. And again, I had zero ambition. So I was looking for it. And why not knock out two birds with one stone and do the right thing, right?
Yeah, just knock out two stone birds. I agree, brother. I
You're right.
agree.
It
All
wasn't
right.
the case.
For me, like it sounds like similar to you. I was in a situation where I was just dirt poor, family didn't have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't get the hell out, I wasn't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In
Pretty
the
much.
military, that boot camp, just like you talked about, that was the realization that I was now going to have to turn into a man.
Yeah.
That started the process. And if I didn't have the military, that would have been a really, really rough process for me. A real
Yeah,
man.
I don't think I would have made it in the civilian world. To be honest with you, I was too wild. I would
Yep.
have been in jail in no time. I mean, I escaped jail before I was even 16. So being, an adult, so to speak, and having to deal with these moronic adults, there's no way I would have not landed in jail
Sure.
because people like us that expect logic, expect people to be held accountable, we are disliked for that very reason because people want to earn for nothing, bro. You know what I mean? And this is where this whole notion of these fucking participation trophies comes from. It's disgusting. You know, I can't wait to eradicate all these motherfuckers. They're toast. There's no coming back from this. You know, this
Mhm.
is a function of all of that shit. I remember the start of all that shit. I'm like, yo, how does this work? Do you just get something for nothing?
Mhm.
That's not real life.
Mhm.
Like nobody's out here giving anybody freebies, and this is exactly what they want people to believe is a reality. And no, it's not. I'm sorry.
When you start toying with the tenets of individualism,
Mm,
that's when things start getting weird.
yeah.
Depending on how far down that spectrum you go, when government powers and organized central powers start creating winners and losers, it gets real weird real quick.
Hmm. And this is where we're at this point.
Mhm.
I mean, look at Canada. Canada is a great example, right? I mean, the government there is losing so bad they're enacting fucking acts of war or rules of war that they can't even enact because there's no justification for them. So they're
Yeah.
just looking like fools. I mean, imagine what those people over there are thinking about their government. They must be ready to run over the parliament at this point because clearly there are no adults in that room or in
Right.
that building, period. There are none. It's no doubt about it. And I'm 100% confident that it's the same thing no matter which Western country you're
Right.
looking at that's
Correct.
still
Yes.
invoking this bullshit.
Cocaine. Power is crack cocaine, and you try to
Clearly.
take power away. What are people going to do? They're going to do whatever they need to do.
That's right.
You've seen
And they've
the
done it.
Canadian. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say exactly what you said. We're seeing them do it.
The Canadian government is now working with these fundraising websites and labeling these people as terrorists in order to freeze their account.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man.
Trudeau's a
Oh my
friggin' nightmare. And what type of power does he have now? Now that the whole
yeah,
world is opening back up, what leg can he stand on?
zero.
Zero.
I
It's
mean,
been embarrassing the entire time.
all this is just a big ad for crypto. This is the best ad for crypto. In all honesty, this is all that is. You know, this just shows people who has control, and it's not them, and they're the ones that are supposed to have it,
Mm-hmm.
not some single individual that clearly doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel pretty fortunate that I think we have a pretty damn good head start too, in terms of cryptocurrency.
yeah.
I have not seen more than a handful of people, for example, on Capitol Hill that have any understanding of the implications or how this works or how vast this universe is, right?
Yeah, no, it's kind of a cool thing because even when you talk to these Wall Street lawyers, clueless, clueless, and they're the
Yeah.
ones making up the rules,
Yeah. And
clueless.
now, why do you think they're clueless? Is it because they don't really perceive the threat, or what?
Yes,
That's the only reason, right?
yep, they do not perceive the threat. Because
Otherwise, they, yeah,
think about it. This is yet we're the first to do everything that we're doing. Period. Everything that we are doing as Hexicans outside of the crypto sphere, we are the first. This is why we are winning so hard and we cannot lose.
mm-hmm.
I mean, we're even creating a real crypto industry because there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
Period. That's not a debate either. Everything that exists now is just a replication of the stock market. You have
Right,
no control over your anything if you keep anything on these exchanges.
right.
That's not crypto. That's not what it was supposed to be. I'm sorry. Period. Like this is insane.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be crypto, and that's why I say crypto isn't really about making money. That's an incredible byproduct of
Yep.
what we're in.
That's right.
But
That's a fun
crypto is
actually
it,
that's really
yeah.
a symptom
Mm-hmm.
of our monetary system. That's
Yes.
really what it is. Because
Yes.
if our monetary system wouldn't be a failure, we wouldn't even need crypto. So crypto is a guaranteed W. It really,
Mm-hmm.
really is. It's just a matter of picking the right one. I mean, Richard Hart has said it before. I'm sure you've heard it, where he states, you know, getting crypto right is the most important thing you could do for your financial well-being,
Right.
and it's true.
Getting crypto right. That's exactly what he said.
Hmm.
And monetary policy at large has been broken literally forever.
Oh yeah,
Didn't
by
just start with the
design.
United States. The Bank
No,
of France couldn't get it right. The Bank of England couldn't get it right. The Federal Reserve is a freaking nightmare. They didn't even want to create the Federal Reserve because they were afraid of centralized power. Then look
hmm
what happens.
well,
It
there's
provided
been
some stability, but
check this out. Did you know that there's been three central banks in the U.S.?
no.
Yeah, there's been three here. There was the first, literally, then the second, literally, then came the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
1700s, mid 1800s, then 1913.
Oh yeah, they tried some failed experiments. Right.
Yeah,
I do remember reading about that.
yeah.
And the problem was with those, somebody would
And there
see,
were some failed attempts too. You're right. Yes. On,
yeah,
on top of the three, because the three actually happened, and then there were some in between. I think the first and second, because they were trying to get the second one up and running for a while, but Jackson was smacking them down.
right.
He
Andrew
wasn't letting
Jackson,
it
yeah.
happen. Yeah, he wasn't letting it happen, and then they eventually got it up.
The
Because I think
problem the
go
problem
ahead.
that they kept running into was something bad would happen halfway across the country. There'd be a run on banks, and they
Yeah,
deplete the reserves.
and they
So
wouldn't
they
find
said
out
we
till days later and shit.
exactly. So they were like, we got to create some type of system that works together. And I guess that's where the Federal Reserve in like 1915, 1913 or something was created.
Yeah.
Uh, and but the issue with that is there's no constitution when it comes to our economics. There's no playbook.
Well,
It's all
actually,
subjective.
what happened was is that they passed the 17th Amendment in 1913 or 1912, right before they passed the Federal Reserve Act. And that amendment that they passed in 1917 gave them the ability to pass that act of 1913
Right. It
that
had
allowed
to.
them to institute. Yeah, they had to do that. That was
Mhm.
the only way. And I discovered this a couple of weeks back when I was interviewing with George Wentz because we were discussing it, and I had forgotten about it because you're not studying the fucking 17th Amendment. Come on, bro. Let's be honest. Um, and as I looked at the date, I was like, hold the fuck up. 1913, bitch, that's exactly when the Federal Reserve Act was instituted. It's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Looking back at it now,
It was
right?
instrumental. Instrumental.
Yeah, it was critical. Without that, they wouldn't have been able to put that act through. No way. That was the silver bullet that allowed them to sneak that act through and put us where we're at today. Because since that moment in time, the US dollar is down 99%. Period. I mean,
Yeah,
a dollar then is
and
worth,
all-time slavery is up 100%.
oh man, thousands.
They control us. They
Yeah,
control everybody.
every aspect. I mean, the fucking crazy. This is the crazy thing, right? This is the crazy thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And hear me out, because this is a little whacked out. But we're all slaves. Some of us just have it better than others. That is it.
Mhm.
That's it. You know, unless you own your time, you're really just a slave.
Yeah.
You know, unless you outright own your land, you're still a slave.
Yeah.
You got to pay taxes to the state. Like what?
And people are like, "Oh, I'm okay with that as long as my life is just good and I'm taken care
Yeah,
of properly. It doesn't matter.
they don't
It
understand
doesn't
the
matter till
implication.
it matters."
That's right, because they don't understand the implication of what just happened. You just allowed a severe overreach of your sovereignty.
Mhm.
That's what just happened. Because now you don't own your land, so your land is not even yours. You can get kicked off that bitch anytime. All
Right.
they gotta do is sling out an eminent domain. Peace, motherfucker. It's
Yeah.
our shit anyway. Fuck you
Yeah.
gonna say? We just
And
leased it to you for 99 years.
that's what they do.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and that's the thing that sucks is like the horrible thing, well, the advantage that a bureaucracy has over the individual is the bureaucracy keeps records and it learns
Yep.
over not 2 years or 3 years, but decades and decades and decades. It can outlive any single individual. And there's not power amongst individuals. It's just like you there and you die.
And
So
that's
when the
why
Fed,
keeping us divided is so important.
so it's true. The Fed was created in 1913, and all the people that were against it, they were against it for the right reasons. Don't do this. Look at Rome. Look at the Greeks. Look at all the instances where you had centralized control of the money. The government could tap into the coffers. Bad idea. And finally, they capitulated and they said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and create the Fed, but we're not going to see. They knew that they weren't going to see the real problems of that probably until 100 years later. And we're sitting there now. It's because people forget. They don't have that perspective that we were
Yep.
talking about either.
They don't.
So
Yeah,
got me
they don't.
fired up, man. I'm all fired
Yeah.
up now. Thanks a lot,
I
dude.
mean, yeah, you're welcome, bro, because it's a problem, right? I mean, and and the question is, well, how the fuck do we fix it? Well, we gotta know there's a problem first in order to fix it, and that's the big problem. We can't fix something when people don't know this shit's fucked up, and most people presume it's not, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can you onboard people to crypto when they don't understand why the hell they should leave the dollar alone in the first fucking place? I mean,
Right.
think about it. Wake up. You know what I mean? Like, it's a two-step process just to get people to understand they need to get into crypto. Then once they get here, they need to understand where the value is because it's not in NFTs. because that shit is gonna be a fly by night situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's wake up. That's the next crypto kitties just waiting to happen. So you gotta help people find the right asset on top of finding the fact that, yo, we're living in a situation where if we don't step up to the plate and take our power back using this tool, we are fucked.
Right.
Imagine if people just never stood up over this past 2-3 weeks. Imagine they would have just kept pressing because they were sure as hell pressing. People forget we were all supposed to be dead unless we took the death jab during Christmas
Yep.
because it was going to be a cold winter. Don't forget, your ass is supposed to be dead if you didn't get the jab.
Correct. I should be dead
Brandon
right
told
now.
you. Yeah, I should be dead too. Brandon told you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget. And you expect me to be okay and lax and be chill? You stupid. You're part of the fucking problem if you think that shit is okay.
Right.
Straight up. You're the fucking enemy in my mind. I don't even have any qualms saying that out loud because that's a fact.
I want to try to find ways. I want to try to find ways to connect with folks. And in my
How can you
mind, the
connect
way
with
that I
people like
connect with them is to speak truth to the untruths very publicly and out loud.
Sure.
And you mentioned something about the value of what we have going on in crypto, et cetera. The real value in my mind, and I think you touched on this, you say the monetary value of network is equal to the number of its nodes squared, right? Whatever that is.
Right.
What's the law called?
It's just Metcalfe's law.
Yeah, Metcalfe's law.
Yeah.
Well, this also goes for it goes for the value of freedom in that network. You know why? Because all crypto needs to be successful is knowledge. We've got to teach people why it's important.
That's right. I say that all the time.
That's
Now,
why.
when I first started streaming and I started talking all this freedom rah rah shit, people would get mad at me
Mm-hmm.
because they couldn't understand. Well, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Well, first off, motherfucker, educate yourself because
Yeah.
I shouldn't be the only person talking about this shit.
Right.
And people were just dumbfounded by that.
Yep.
You know, and it became this conversation over time, and people finally started fucking understanding the deeper this Rona shit got. Because it's like, yo, how many layers of lies do you need in your face on one topic to hear me and understand that I am not talking crazy shit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wake the fuck up. I mean, I get DMs, people telling me, yo, thank you for saving my life. I almost took that stupid ass shit. You're fucking welcome, bro. That's all I was trying to do. I don't even need a thank you. I'm just glad you didn't do that shit.
Dude, and they yearn for it. When you're onboarding somebody who's never heard the truth, you can look in their eyes while you're speaking. You can see their brains are open. They've been waiting for this the entire because they hear you. It's punching through because they're tired. They're tired of losing money and they just want to win. They just want to take care of their families. And it might be a simple onboarding to some of you guys in the chat, but really the amount of the butterfly effect that's happening from that singular moment is going to spread out in directions that you could never compute yourself. You just couldn't. You're doing so much good by bringing people into what we have going on here. Just make sure they don't go to WhalesOnly. All right, so let's check chat here, and let's pull up a good comment or two.
Sure.
This is probably one of the best comments in here. It's from Flat Earth Davis. And he says, all my money not spent on my kids goes to semi-trucks, crypto, and Pokemon cards.
I like that. That's a good one.
All right, let's go back
respect
here.
those semi-trucks in that mud, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Max says this, and I agree with it based on history. This isn't my opinions. This is just what it is.
Yep.
When people are in too much pain, it's too late.
Not a coincidence. That's right.
It's too late. We're getting boiled slowly like frogs.
That's right. I mean, imagine if people would have said no to this after 1 year. I mean, it was supposed to be 2 weeks. The fuck is wrong with y'all? What were y'all waiting around 2 years for? Seriously. What the fuck? After a month, you should have been like, no. That's it, bitch. Enough of this shit. Because they can't prove a fucking thing. All of this information is now becoming public. Now. Because people didn't want to see it before. And it wasn't hidden then. Because I found it. How the hell else would I know? I'm not no damn genius. I'm not no genie. I don't
Yep.
just got this information tucked up my sleeve because it wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly this is public information, folks. Like, wake the fuck up.
I like that. Were you the one who made that comment about the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And the world opened back up over the Super Bowl. It's done, guys. Okay, we're good
Yep.
now. It's done.
Yep. Pretty much. And that's exactly how it
It,
went, except for
I,
California
dude,
and
right.
parts of New York.
I posted a picture probably back in September, and I was in Lane Stadium, so it was a football game,
Mm,
college football game, and I take a panorama. I've got 65 or 70,000 people in the stadium. Nobody has a
damn.
mask on, and I'm like, and I'd say something about my boys and my friends in Australia, my boys and friends in New Zealand, and the lockdowns that are happening in Germany, and all these places. I'm
They
like,
sound unimaginable to most
guys, the
people here.
world is okay. Here's the
Yeah.
proof, right
Yeah.
here. The
Yep.
world's fine.
Yep. And look at Europe now. I mean, you got certain countries where they're acting like, nah, we're about to kill all of y'all, whether y'all want it or not. And then you got places like the UK where they just gave up because they just couldn't keep up the charade anymore.
Yeah,
They had to let it
absolutely,
go.
absolutely, man.
I mean,
So
it's
what do
crazy.
you let me ask you this. All right, so
Yeah.
we've got this community, and let's face it, if anybody watches your streams or anybody can just use their brains, they realize the math is in our favor in a big way, and we were very, very, very early.
Yeah. We're lucky.
In your estimation, what is the best way once we come into all of these resources, even more, so many poor people are going to be blessed. What's the best way to excite and exact change for our world in a positive, freedom loving way?
I gotta say is education, bro.
Okay.
That's the biggest one, man. Because how can you change anything in a good way in a permanent type situation, right? Like, you don't want to just change something for the moment. I'm not doing what I do to be cool for now. Like, I've been streaming for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I do this to just, lecture people. Like, I'm really trying to share useful information that are going to change people's lives. And I know that I have. And that's my only objective. Whether the price was 1 cent or fucking 55 cent, the
Right.
information was still valid and it's still true. And when you look back on this shit in 5 years, you're gonna be like, God damn, I'm glad I listened to that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I want, because the information I'm giving you is verifiably true. And that's the key, right? And this is how we separate ourselves from the rest of the crap that's out there. Because you already been around crypto longer than a week. There's
Mm-hmm.
trash out there.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to be able to separate yourself from the trash, you got to keep it 100. And people are gonna hate that. People are gonna really hate that. And people see how
Because it's
much
their
hate I get for
identity.
that.
You're challenging their identity. That's why they hate
100%.
it. Yeah.
100%. And people see me getting that hate every day because I keep it 100 and I don't care. I don't care. You got a problem with me? That's your own fucking problem. You know why? Because I'm always the same motherfucker.
Right.
Right? So when people find themselves in this situation where they couldn't see it coming, it's because they weren't being honest with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why you have to respect information, keep an open mind, and understand that you don't know everything. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest thing. How do we progress without understanding that we don't know anything? You can't.
Right.
Because if the buck is full, well, what else are you going to put in there?
You're probably just like me. It's like you probably get pissed off when you're in a conversation with somebody and you don't know what they're talking about because you just don't know. You
Yeah.
probably get fired up and you want to go learn. You're
Yep.
like, I can't let that shit happen again.
I dive in, bro. I
You got
dive in.
to.
Yeah, I
You got
dive
to
in.
because it's important. You got to have that hunger and knowledge, and you got to know that every single thing that you learn, it's going to open up 5 doors that you don't. But that's part of the
100,000%.
process.
100,000%, bro. I mean, I got to tell you, I think being a PhD is one of the biggest errors a person can make in this point in time,
Why?
because there's not enough people that know enough information about more than one topic.
Right.
And all a PhD does is that it pigeonholes you. It rarely makes you viable in more than one field. Very
Mm-hmm.
rarely is that a thing. So what's the value in that? We don't need smart people doing one thing. That's stupid. We need smart people doing multiple things, and people are capable of exercising their abilities in multiple fields. I do it. I talk about legal shit. I talk about math shit. I talk about finance shit. I talk about economic shit. So clearly, just because I'm not speaking with a exuberant vocabulary doesn't mean I can't get my message across accordingly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And like, I don't have an issue. I know you don't have an issue either. I don't have an issue with people with quote unquote PhDs. But the
No, yeah, I
problem that I
don't.
have with those folks is the path that they had to take to get there.
It's a pain in the ass. I almost
And
did it. I
and it
almost did it.
probably screws your head up.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta believe the hype you're sold, bro. Think
Correct.
about it.
Correct.
You know the time they put in. Fuck the money, because a lot of time they get a free ride. Because a lot of time they're grant programs and they're just free rides for one reason or another. And the time they gotta put in. I think in order to get a PhD in most fields, you gotta add some original work to the field. So it's
Hmm.
not easy. I mean, how do you?
Dissertations, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you gotta defend it. That's right. So how do you defend some nonsensical economic theory, for example, that might not be true or valid at all, and you just gotta fluff it the fuck up? Like, there's some people that never learn real economics,
Hmm.
and they don't realize that they can't actually do any real like the way it's dressed as a quantitative topic. There's nothing quantitative about economics. I'm sorry. It's there's nothing quantitative about it. They can dress it up mathematically all they want, but none of those equations stand the test of time.
Yeah. They don't.
Period.
You. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I know with economics degrees. I promise. I bet if I took out 10 people and asked 10 people this question, maybe one would get it right. I would say, explain to me how supply and demand actually works mathematically.
Right, right. And they couldn't do it.
Dude, you want to talk about I would hear somebody BS for 5 minutes before they walked away and cuss me out. But it's true. You have an economics
Yeah,
degree and you can't explain to me mathematically how supply and demand works. You
that's
can you
right.
can tell me what's been regurgitated or you read in textbooks, but you don't understand. There's a difference between knowing and understanding.
100%.
And colleges teach people to know. Colleges do not teach people to understand. Now, admittedly, I haven't been to the higher echelons of education, so I would assume that in order to be able to defend your position, you'd have enough self-respect to actually try to know what you're talking about. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know what it looks like at that level.
You would think. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think present day, depending what you're doing. Now, I went to school for mathematics, right?
Yep.
So I couldn't just toss out some fluffy theory. You had to prove it or whatever. I didn't go to grad school for math, but you were doing proofs. Like
Right.
after you do, sophomore level math, you're doing very high level quantitative work,
Right.
and it's called real analysis, and you got to do all this writing. It's not really adding and subtracting and shit like that anymore. You got to write shit, so it's a little different, right? You got to really, really think. And it changes your perspective on what you thought math was. It makes you look at the world differently. And I think that if more people realize how useful math is, they would give it a second chance. Because I think finding something, like, I know when I found investing, just the whole notion of it, it took me a while to really make the decision that that's what I wanted to do. And then once I made that decision, you go through this process of learning what the hell is it that you need to learn.
Yeah.
And then once you start learning, right, you kind of, at least I picked those things that interested me the most. And for me, I didn't really like trading at first. For me, at first, I liked more the analytical aspect of it. Because for me, it was easier to see what was happening in real time versus looking at some chart and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that's why I picked that route. But eventually, I ended up realizing that you had to combine it all. And that's what led me down the path of then having to learn how to apply the real world effects of what's happening in real time, cross checking that with headlines and then cross checking that with price. Like, there's a lot of ways to look at how real world occurrences affect price. And I think a lot of people get confused by thinking that headlines matter a little bit more than they
Yeah,
do.
when I read Wyckoff's books, right?
Mm,
Now, the thing that I took away from that, I immediately knew that since this was written like in the early 1900s or late 1800s, whenever it was,
yeah,
I knew that it's been played out, and I immediately knew that every person who's trying to game the stock market today knows
I
about
read
that
it.
stuff. It's
Yeah,
old
of course.
news.
Hmm.
But what I did take out of that book, I think he talks about the composite man, which is what we kind of call the whales today. It's this almost like ethereal, godlike uh, a group of people who move the market up and down. He called it the composite. So the thing that made me realize, like, if I want to get good at this game, if I want to get good at trading, if I want to get good on anything, I've got to get good at understanding how they do it. And once you realize that there are people out there that are making a lot of money, and that's when you spend all your time and energy focusing towards, well, where can I get that knowledge?
Right.
Now, the interesting thing with you, I don't know much about your background other than what you said, but it sounds like you might be part and parcel and privy to some of that with your job.
Right.
So you use the techniques that you learn and have been passed down to you in that industry to be able to make educated decisions and guesses about what's happening to the markets at large, correct?
Well, I'll tell you this. I watch what others do
Yeah.
and I watch what others say. Because one thing you'll come to realize is that even within every industry, there are people that have agendas, and the agendas are not always disguised on every front that you get to see.
Mm-hmm.
For example, let's take a bank like Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs has multiple fronts that you wouldn't even realize because when they issue headlines, they just say Goldman Sachs says blah 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 blah.
Right.
You don't know what none of that other shit means. So unless you're in the business, you're not gonna know who's saying what. And that's where having experience comes into play because, for example, Goldman Sachs Asset Management says 10-year treasury looks like a buy. Well, that means you should probably sell that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But if Goldman Sachs IB says blah blah blah, you should probably do whatever blah 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 is.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. That's just an example, right? And if you understand what those two buckets are doing, then you can ride those waves accordingly.
So you
You
got
know,
to. So you're saying you got to understand the patterns of the messages coming out from different entities to be able to really comprehend and I guess decipher what's happening between the two.
correct. You gotta
Yeah.
really be connecting dots out here, and they don't. And the thing about it is, they're not hiding anything. You just gotta willing. You gotta be willing to look.
Right. Right.
Most people just, they're not interested. They just want things to be handed to them, and that's
One thing
just
that
not
I
how it
found
works.
very interesting, you shared something, if I remember correctly, if it was you, about 2 or 3 days ago, and you're talking about the founder of Telegram.
Yep.
Tell the chat about what's happening with that. Why is that important? How does that affect us as a community?
Well, a lot of us use Telegram to communicate because it's really one of the easiest, most effective ways to communicate. And it turns out, for those of you that don't know, that the founder of Telegram is one of Mr. Dr. Evil's babies, basically. He went to one of his training camps. So everything you're doing and saying is basically being monitored. You better believe it.
Yeah, and people say, "Well, it's not monitored, it's encrypted, blah 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 blah." No.
Shit, all right. Yeah, I
Why would
never
it
got
not
I
be?
never touched Telegram until I became a Mexican. I didn't have a reason to. I wasn't dumb enough to use it.
Mhm.
It's just not secure. If in terms of security, you can easily get breached here. I use it but I know what I'm doing. But if you don't, you can get hacked easy.
And also talk to us about this. I heard you talking about some topics concerning what do you think the future of Ethereum is based on some of the knowledge you've been sharing about who's in charge and who's sitting on what board across the world, etc.
Yeah, that's another institution that's been breached by the moneyed interests that don't want that doesn't actually want crypto to succeed. Why would the people that run the fiat system want the dollar to succeed or want the crypto system to succeed? Because that's a competition. If we decide to use our own money, meaning people's money, and they can't control and determine the issuance and the rate of interest and all of these things that allow them to benefit to their whim and decision, to their beck and call, well, then why would they allow it if they had the ability to control it? So what's happened is that once again, you got another Klaus baby on the board for Ethereum.
Yeah.
So guess what? That's not ever gonna improve, guys. Take
Right.
advantage when you see the low ETH fees like it's been lately and have fun. And that's about all you're gonna get.
Do you think that there's going to be an entity in traditional finance that embraces cryptocurrency in a big way and actually helps take it in the future? Are we waiting for that person to step up, or should we just stay separated?
I think something from within cryptocurrency is gonna emerge. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that people that have no incentive to learn something are not gonna learn something. And when you're already paid, what incentive do you have to educate yourself in anything new? Zero. You really don't have any zero. You got zero. And like, what desire is there? What incentive can there be when you already got a fat bank? What incentive is there outside of pure desire and just wanting to learn? Everybody ain't Richard Hart. Everybody isn't a retired millionaire that decided to mine BTC blocks and shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't that guy. Clearly.
Right.
And that's the difference between him and most of the people. He likes to educate himself.
So
And that's all.
fast forward. Let's say we do fast forward 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
First question I'm going to ask you is, what does this whole community look like in 3 years?
Well, it's probably going to be 4 to 5 times bigger than it is now, if not bigger than that.
Yeah.
Because it's grown pretty big in 1 year. I mean, just with Pulse alone, because it's so much easier for people to comprehend what the hell Pulse is than it is for them to take the time and understand Hex, right? Like that community is way bigger than Hex is. So that alone has, I mean, if you looked at just what I think 120,000 plus addresses are sacked for Pulse X.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3x the, I think it's like 3x the damn PulseChain
3-4x.
sack. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That shows how much people have interest in real crypto products, because that's what we do over here. We don't do no fake crypto. We do real crypto here. We don't kiss middleman ass, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And when people realize that, and people realize that they have control over their wealth over here, and that's all it is no games being played like there is on Ethereum, where they're trying to find ways to fleece you on every transaction. It's a different world, man. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Because I don't see how it's going to be stopped. What are they doing? They're going to shut off the internet?
No.
Yeah.
The only speculation that I've researched and shared with my folks is there seems to be a strong push from Gary Gensler to try to undermine stables in DeFi and then replace it with government
CBDC.
That's right. CBDC.
I talked about this a year ago. So
yes,
that's right.
So if you go back and you've heard him, if you go back at his lectures at MIT back 10 years, he said the same thing. I think that he's actually trying to use XRP to create precedent to come after Ethereum.
Correct. It was interesting now that you mentioned Ethereum, because it seems logical, but they gave them a pass.
I saw that.
So it seems like they cannot come at them. But
they took they gave them a pass, and for obvious, we saw some reasons why they gave them the pass. Some powerful people are involved.
Yeah.
Recently, the current SEC leadership forced the guy who's the chair before, when they gave them the pass, to sign an affidavit that said that all of the comments that he made were the opinions of himself and not the SEC at the time.
I forgot
and
about
I said,
that.
I see what they're doing.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy. I found that too. I was like, so basically, You
They're
know what
trying to
that
shore. They're
means?
trying to shore it up before they
They
take
can
it to court.
renege. That's what that means.
Yeah.
So
So
Ethereum can get
everything
ransacked at
point.
any time.
Yeah, I'm like, this could actually be the perfect storm for PulseChain.
That's right.
Because we're about to fork Ethereum, and if some type of judgment comes across for Ripple, Ethereum is probably in the crosshairs next. People might want to jump ship to something that doesn't have the heat on them, man.
Yeah, but you know what? You want to know what? A lot of people are going to say, oh, but if you're forking Ethereum, PulseChain is going to be under the same threat. And what they're not going to understand is that, no, it's fucking not.
No, it's not, because we
But
did all
this,
the right things.
yeah, it is going to be more than just doing all the right things. It's just the token design, the tokenomics. I don't even want to speak on it, so the haters don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about it in the green room, but it's this one thing. It's really this one thing that makes it different than Ethereum, that makes it not a security. Just that one
Cool.
thing alone. Because the freaking thing with Ethereum is that there's no limit to how many Ethereum can be minted.
Yeah.
None. Right? None at all. In fact, I don't know if anybody's heard, but recently there was a bug that was found by a bounty hunter in the Ethereum code where they could have minted an infinite number of coins on a DVM, which is some type of virtual machine. I forget what the D stands for.
Yeah.
But this is Ethereum, like right now, not years ago. This is like 2 days ago,
Right.
and nobody's really talking about it. Why? Because that's what they do. They don't talk about the gaps in their holes.
Well, it's funny because literally, I hate to even use the word ly words literally, but if you look at all the problems that crypto at large have with Richard Hart projects, the reason that it is the way it is, these reasons are to keep the project protected and keep him protected.
Yeah.
Every single reason. It's like, oh, we don't know really who all the developers are. Well, there's a reason for that. What about the Howey test? What about this or that? And I bet you a lot of the developers don't even know who each other are either. And there's
Yeah.
a reason for that.
That's right.
And the fundraising and the word sacrifice, and it just, the list goes on and on.
Well, sacrifice is new. Hex wasn't built like that. Hex
Right.
was made, and then the money came. It wasn't like Pulse Chain and Pulse X. I mean, people got to wrap their heads around the reality of how those events even materialize. These were not things that were planned in the sense that they were on some type of fucking roadmap or some bullshit where if you bought Hex, this was guaranteed to you. You know what I'm saying? Like people
Right.
act like that's the case. No, it's not. This is some completely necessary shit because we got no fucking choice.
Right.
The whole
Airdrop.
industry has no choice.
Yeah. We're not doing airdrops. We're doing forks.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It all adds up. It adds up in a big way. And from the outside looking in with no information other than what you've been fed in your garbage meme world, it looks crazy because you're used to a different normal, a substandard normal.
Literally, man.
Yeah, it is.
Literally.
It is. Let's
It
see
is.
here.
And to the chat, I don't remember if it was EVM. I don't remember it being EVM. I remember it being O or DVM. I can't remember exactly what it was. I gotta find that. I'll find it and post something on later because it was interesting to read because you just don't hear nothing like that.
Well, now what is it? The virtual machine, the inflation bug?
Yeah, it was some virtual machine, some Ethereum inflation bug. Let me see because I keep an Ethereum column up.
EVM compatible.
I don't
Yeah,
know if it
Echo
was.
Victor Mike.
I don't know if it was Echo Victor Mike. I really remember seeing October or Delta or something like that. But who knows? I'm fucking crazy. Anything's possible.
There's an article on Cointelegraph about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But it could be something else too.
Yeah, who fucking knows, bro? Whatever.
All right. So Davis wants us to talk about PulseX incentive token game theory.
There's nothing to talk about. It doesn't exist.
Go ahead.
It doesn't exist. What is it to talk about?
Why?
What do you mean why? We can create our own if you want. I know what I would like to see.
What would you like to see?
I would like to see something like a stable.
Why?
Because we're already time locking money everywhere else, or locking money up everywhere else to a certain degree. If you want to create something called a quote incentive token, end quote, then it should be something that actually functions as an incentive. something that people can spend, something that's actually liquidity, right? I don't
Hmm.
know. That's what I think makes sense.
I agree. I like the fact first and foremost. Now, Davis, the reason he asked me to talk about this is so I could shill his idea for him, and I'm going to give him credit for it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really get into the whole coin design thing, but sure, let's talk about it.
He made the point, and this is I can't believe I didn't think about it, but he's a smart dude. He says, whatever the incentive token is, it might be assumed that people are just going to sell that thing off and just scrape their
Yeah,
quote unquote
exactly. Why
yield.
wouldn't it be a fucking? That's exactly what I'm saying. Why would it not be a stable coins type of coin? Like, why not?
Right.
It should be
So
something like that.
he took it one step further and he said, well, wait a minute. Let's back up a second. Let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if PulseX is deflationary, the fees are getting burned, it's harder and harder to get over time. By proxy, isn't that incentive token, regardless of what it is, also going to be more and more difficult to get over time because it's a byproduct of PulseX?
Should be, even if it is
Especially if you
inflationary.
stake it and receive
E-
yield.
yeah, even if it is inflationary, because
Exactly.
to get to it's like getting across a bridge. You need that token to pay the toll to get to the other side. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You still can't get over there.
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit for that, because it makes a lot of sense. And
Hmm.
and once I understood that, if staking is really going to be a thing for PulseX, regardless of what's going to be, what the yield's going to be, that's a really big idea that people need to consider. Like
Hmm.
maybe I'm not going to be selling that yield. I'm not going to be touching it. Maybe I'm not going to
Right.
sell it and buy PulseX or Pulse.
And this is why I think it should be a stable, because we don't really know what people are going to decide to do with an incentive coin, regardless of the game theory. Because people are going to look for some way to spend some money. Like, damn, we already got Hex. Pulse Chain is already going to have the ability to delegate stakes. Now you're going to have your farming on PulseX. Somebody got to take some money and spend it somewhere. So let's find a way to find an ability to support the coins that we want floating and not have them being sold. And
Right.
that, I think, is by creating a release pressure valve, or a release valve in the form of a damn incentive token that's a stability coin or a stable
That
coin.
is not, yeah, that is also not, it's not a reward of the token that's being staked, which is PulseX. We want them separate, air gapped.
Yeah, nah, it should just be some damn stable coin. It shouldn't even be no fucking, like, the reward token, whatever it is, should be a stable coin type token. Something that's just a fucking unit of account, single unit, that's it.
Yeah, and the
Because
thing that
then, go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
No, 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 go ahead.
No, the thing I like about what you're saying is that also checks the box for vertical integration in the Pulse chain
Yeah.
ecosystem. We need a
Well, yeah.
stable, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, the question is, well, how do they back it, right?
Right, that's
And
the problem.
yeah, when I think about it, I'm like, well, we know all of these stables have been sacked. We know all these other coins have been sacked. That we don't fucking need them. We don't, the fixer bot for Pulse Chain or Pulse X is gonna, harvest all liquidity that exists on the Ethereum coin on the other side once they fork it. So they don't technically need all those dumped coins. So they could literally, or sack coins, they could literally take all those sack coins, convert them to stables, and boom, now we got a pot to play with. And you can split that pot in half, thirds, whatever, and allocate them however the hell. And now you have your reserve, you got your payout, incentive coin, batch, and all this shit. Right? I mean, I'm not thinking the entire thing through, but you get the gist. There's ways to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Jawa says no, Davis. You can get incentive tokens from providing liquidity for all sorts of pairs, not just PLS and PLSX. You're right, Jawa.
Hmm.
But the point is, how many people on this network are comfortable with providing liquidity compared to how many people would be comfortable with just staking PulseX risk free?
Right.
That's the
Two different
power
things.
in this.
Yeah, two different things. I mean, so what is providing liquidity in a yield farm sense? Well, that's like providing funds to the plumbing in a system, in a financial system. That's what we're doing. So when you think about the legacy markets, you think about the different lengths of time, right? That people are investing at. And you got the fixed income markets where you have the short term interest rate products, right? Where it's like corporate paper and fucking zero coupon bonds and all this short term weird shit, right? And things that aren't liquid or whatever. And then once you go out further out, it's like scant. It's almost like nothing relative to the early um tenor of paper, which is just shorter duration versus long duration. And the simple reason for that is because majority of the entities that exist just live off of short range capital, because that's
Right.
what most people are used to doing, just short termism. And taking into account those kinds of things and understanding how the system works, and how you're set up, like the person that has a long-term duration that's longer than the staking average for the hex system specifically, just to get technical, like they are gonna really outperform the entire market to such a tune that it's not going to even be understandable to the average person, because they can't grasp what's happening when the price has nowhere to go but up.
Hmm.
Because here's the thing, there's always going to be sellers, but selling isn't permanent, just like buying isn't permanent.
Hmm.
So once the selling stops, what do you think is going to happen?
We know it's going to happen.
We know what's going to happen. That's right.
I think we know it's going to happen. Um, Here's another thought that I had, and Hex Machine brings this up, and I thought about it too. We're going to have projects that already have stables in the ecosystem, but I'm not educated enough to understand the complexity of that or how that would work, or even if it did. So, but I think the problem that you would run into with the Richard Hart project is he's not going to want to use the stable of another project
Yeah.
necessarily. He would freak out. Um,
Doesn't even make any sense. Why
but at
would
the
you do
same
that?
time, if other projects wanted to use stables, in non-RH projects, I guess, and they might be able to do that, but I don't know how that would work. Just
Yeah, no, they
highlighting
would
that.
have to have a reserve. It's
Yeah,
not something,
right. You can't
they,
just.
yeah, you're not just throwing in USDC code and the shit and plugging it in. Like, no, that's not how it works. You got to have a reserve, and then that shit gets spit out. So, it's not that simple. That would be something that would be akin to having a middleman involved,
Yeah,
right? And this is why it would have to be something native to the chain or native to the network, because then and only then could it be automated into the system, and then and
right.
only then could you not have a middleman, right? And that's always the ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve as much as possible. So I don't know about using LL. I mean, that's not a approved system at all. I don't see why anybody would want to do that.
Maybe a portion of the fees for PulseX fees could be used to somebody, whoever controls the address, could
Mhm.
purchase up incentive token. Well, I guess it wouldn't purchase it
No,
up unless it launched with total supply. It wouldn't be able to be purchasable.
but that's the thing.
No, it would.
I don't see why you would want to do that. Like that's why I think the incentive token should just be something like a stable coin. Because if it's
Hmm.
gonna be something that people are gonna try to sell anyway,
Hmm.
then just make it something that's sellable and done.
And I
It's a
guess it makes
successful
you
item
a stable coin in PulseChain would make people more sticky to PulseChain.
for
They're
sure.
they're going to want
Because
to
they
use
have
it with other
a
projects.
Yeah, because they have an exit on and
Hmm.
a value on and a value out. And
Hmm.
that's important for people. People want to be able to spend the money that they make if they make money and they want to spend it, and I get that. So it's important, because that does yield adoption and attraction, and those are things that we do want in the chain. I mean, people are talking about post chain this, post chain that, and we're trying to get all kinds of entities over here using it. Even these people that like NFTs, yo, you want to mint NFTs? Come over here. You want to buy them? Knock yourself out. That's your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people are going to do what they want, and this is just going to be the right platform to do it, because guess what? It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to do it.
Right. Right. And I'll say this too, with these launching and the crypto market at large and this quote unquote regulation looming, I think you're probably aware of I guess the decentralized exchange, not the exchange that the SEC is kind of backing.
Oh, the Boston Exchange, yeah.
Yeah, Boston Exchange. Do you know about that? And
Yep.
let the chat know what that's all about.
Yeah, so basically it's an exchange where they're going to be able to list not only stocks but cryptos as well
And it
on a
got
blockchain.
pushed through in a record time.
Yeah, because it's the SEC shit
Right.
on a blockchain. And that just goes to show how uneven the playing field is for all of us.
Hmm.
If you're tied in with the powers that be, you get to do whatever you want. Those of us that are trying to stand up something that's going to work for us, Well, guess what? We running the fucking walls.
Yeah, you listen to these fireside chats that Gensler has once every couple months or every quarter, and he's basically telling, if you're a project out there, just come to us, talk to us, bend the knee, pay a little bit of restitution,
Right.
and then hey, guess what? We also have this really cool exchange that we back that you can use from now on.
Right.
Ugh,
Just like that.
ugh,
Just like that.
fires me up. Yeah, with custody, I'm sure. Of course, it has, because centralized. It has to be centralized. They're going to track every move that you make.
I mean,
That's the
it's
whole
comical,
point.
bro. Most people don't even realize that the stocks that they own in their little portfolio aren't even their own stocks.
Correct. Correct. No,
So,
nobody does, man. Are you kidding? We're in the
yeah,
tip of the tip of the tip of the spear right now.
literally.
Like economically, financially, crypto. This
Forefront of
is
crypto
correct.
in 2022.
I know.
How early are we? I
We
mean,
early,
we're gonna
man.
we're gonna be watching this shit when we old and wrinkly, bro. Looking at this shit, laughing like, "Pah, we were so fucking right. It's nasty."
Hell yeah. Dude, you're right. I'll be in my damn wheelchair. I'll hit you with my cane talking shit.
Yo, it's inevitable. Like the dollar only goes one way. This is not hard, folks.
Yeah. Somebody asks, is it possible for incentive token to be hex? Is it possible?
Mm,
Sure, but is it?
yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen though.
Yeah,
Why would
that's
you
like
do that?
that's sell pressure. That's a lot of things that probably
Yeah,
wouldn't be
yeah.
good for hex.
No, yeah. Because here's the thing. You got to realize, guys, you already got Hex. Hex has already been around for 2 years. So Hex is not an incentive token because typically an incentive token is something that people are looking to liquidate, meaning they're trying to sell it as soon as they get their hands on it because they need money or something because they got their value locked up elsewhere. And that yield is what they're living off of in a lot of cases. So if we're able to find a way to make the incentive token something that is not locked up but is sellable, well, I think that would be perfect because then guess what? Everything else has no choice but to fucking zoom because people are gonna have a release valve for their value. It's a no brainer in my mind, but I don't get involved in all that. I'm just a lowly math guy. Don't mind me.
Just a lonely math guy, no mind.
I don't fucking know nothing. Don't mind
I
me.
had no. I'm gonna take the bait and pump your head. Okay, whatever. Well, all right, we got to move past this. We got to move past this.
Pump my head. I pump my head, bro. I just read what's on the paper. I keep it real. That's all. I keep
Here's
it
my
real,
here's my
man.
theory about hex, man. I think the fireworks, the real fireworks, and you're the chart guy, you're the math guy. You do this every day, but imagine the gains that we're gonna get in with PulseX and PulseChain here in about 18 months to 36 months, and people take all that money and start dumping it into hex because hex, in a way, can be thought of as a stable coin at that point because so many people are going to be staked.
Well, you got to realize, bro, it's a money printer,
Yeah.
right? So in a lot of ways, it's a multifaceted coin.
Mm-hmm.
It provides you yield, it provides you capital appreciation, it provides you stability of value because it's a store of value. So over time, right, you got two things working with you. You got the crypto yield paying, doing what it's doing, earning, making your stack grow over time, and then you got the dollar depreciation backing up your ROI in conjunction with that. So
Mm-hmm.
you really can't lose because you got the wind in your sails and you going 100 miles an hour and there's nothing in your way. There really isn't. Like,
Huge.
yo, I've never thought in my life I was gonna surpass the fucking Big Short trade, but I have already, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've been in Hex longer than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody that's been around as long as me, they've done the same thing
Mm-hmm.
and effortlessly. That's unheard of, bro. Where I come from, that's unheard of. People are out here killing for a 10x in 1 year. In 1 year. In 1 year.
10x.
People
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like
and people in
10x is
crypto are
awesome.
spoiled. Yeah,
It's
well,
incredible.
but 10x is nothing in crypto,
I
bro.
know,
People
it's
in
crazy.
crypto, they're fucking spoiled. They don't understand why these things are happening, and that's why I don't respect them. They don't realize that all those gains that they're stacking, all those X's, they're gonna be the ones that lose them all because they don't realize what they're doing.
Whales, you're gonna get soft in your old age. You're gonna care about these people eventually.
Yeah, okay.
I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
Sure.
See,
Like, look,
I just called you out.
I lost a lot of money in my day, kid. I don't feel shit. Because you know what? I had to learn by myself.
Oh,
There wasn't
Lord.
anybody to tell me, hey, you're going to get busted, kid. There wasn't nobody there to tell me that. I had to fucking bust myself and bust myself out.
Well, when you're on a completely different planet and you don't have any friends, you got to learn lessons the hard way. You know what I mean? That's true. You don't have a choice.
Yo, that's a fact, bro.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
All right.
I mean, look at us with Hex, bro. We're on our own.
We are.
In a lot of ways.
Trailblazers, pioneers. We are the Wild West.
Literally. We're the fucking, like you said, the spear of the spear of the spear. That's no joke.
Well, you know what, man? It's an hour and 36 minutes in. I got stuff to do better than talking to you.
Pleasure, brother. We'll do it again.
We're going to hop off to your chat. I'm going to give you guys about 20 seconds to post another question or two for us. And Whales, I just wanted to thank you very much for wearing the Rags to Riches glasses that I sent you in the mail today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I think somebody said that in chat. That wasn't me, but I wanted to take credit for it bad. All right, let's see if they've got this here. Yeah, Terrapin says, great stream. Thank you, guys. Next time we're charging for the shit on stage, right, brother?
Pay-per-view, goddamn.
All right, baby. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. All right, I think we're good. We're going to bounce out. Yeah, he says, this is just the next evolution in crypto. Mic drop.
That's us.
Happy Valentine's Day, Whales. Just want to let you know that too.
Same to all.
No homo.
No homo.
All right. And I think we're going to do this countdown. Y'all be good. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the green room, brother.
Peace.
All right. Well, that stream made me like mildly erect, dude. That was pretty damn good.
We're still live, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. or am I? Did I do it on purpose?
Yeah, we're still live, bro.
Oh, we're still live now?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, man.
Oh, my bad, dude. My bad. Let me end it real quick. Oh, no.